Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is Explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 162 based on novel. So let's start. A lush green color filled one's eyes, emitting an exuberant life force. A majestic and towering large stone square stood here. The large stone square was around 1,000 feet in size. It was supported by a countless number of enormous stone pillars. From a distance, it appeared like a giant standing between the sky and earth, giving one a spectacular feeling. A distorted color appeared above this huge stone square. Occasionally, some silver lights would flicker and numerous figures rushed out of them to gently land in the square. This extremely spacious square was filled with people. Noise gathered together and charged to the clouds. The space in the air once again distorted at this moment. A couple of figures came out of it. These figures steadily landed on the large stone platform. They lifted their eyes and looked around them while a surprise surfaced on their faces. This should be the GU stone square that is mentioned on the map. It seems that we did not take a wrong turn. The little fairy doctor smiled as she glanced around this majestic and towering large stone platform. After which, she informed Xiao Yang beside her. Aye. Xiao Yang nodded. His eyes swept over this enormous platform. With his eyesight, he was naturally able to sense that the auras on the platform were all quite strong. There were even some auras that even he had to treat seriously. It is indeed worthy of being the GU clan. Those who can be invited by them are all true experts. This ability to gather people is really quite frightening. Tianhuazunja by the side nodded slowly and exclaimed. Xiao Yang smiled. He looked to the east. He could vaguely see the outline of an extremely enormous city at the edge of his sight. He said, "That place is our destination, the GU sacred city, let's go." An impatience surfaced on Xiao Yang's face when he finished speaking. His heart was curious to learn more about this mysterious GU realm. Moreover, there was still the tomb of his Xiao clan ancestor within the GU realm. Being his descendant, Xiao Yang needed to make a trip there no matter what. Naturally, no one objected to Xiao Yang's words. The group ceased delaying at this moment. Their bodies moved, and they rushed into the high sky before flying in the direction of the distant city. There were quite a number of people taking the same route as Xiao Yang's group. From the flying speed of these people, it was possible to tell that they were all quite strong. However, Xiao Yang did not meet any faction that he was familiar with along the way. Only then did his heart feel awed. It was said that the Central Plains had many hidden experts. These words were indeed true now that he had experienced them. The strength of these experts was not the least bit inferior to some top faction elders. Normally, they would not reveal themselves. They kept such low profiles that it was frightening. Although the grassy plains were vast, it was nothing to Xiao Yang's group. Within less than 10 minutes, the vaguely visible city had appeared in their sight. Xiao Yang was a little stunned when he saw this city for the first time because this city was not filled with a dominating aura as they had imagined. The city was built from large pale green rocks. Perhaps it was due to the erosion of time, but this city appeared to have decayed. An unusually ancient aura spread from the city, causing one to sense a slight ancient feeling. As they approached, Xiao Yang's group finally discovered that this ancient city was encased in a transparent light barrier. This light barrier might appear thin and frail, but it created a pressure that seemed to originate from the soul. This pressure caused quite a number of people's expressions to change. Respect appeared on the faces of the experts familiar with the origins of the city. This GU sacred city has stood since ancient times. It is rumored that it was built by the elite Do Di from the GU clan. The light barrier contains part of the Do Di's strength. With the protection of this light barrier, this GU sacred city is impenetrable. Tianhuazunja softly explained. It seemed that he was familiar with this city. Do Di's strength, no wonder it is this frightening. Xiao Yang came to a sudden understanding. No wonder the pressure he felt within his soul was growing denser the closer he approached the city. As an act of respect to an elite Do Di, flying is forbidden within a 10,000-foot radius of the GU sacred city. We will have to walk in on foot. Otherwise, the pressure would increase. Tianhuazunja smiled. After which, he took the lead to land on the ground. Xiao Yang's group quickly followed from behind. Their speed was not reduced even after they had landed. They transformed into numerous blurry figures that quickly rushed to the ancient city. Xiao Yang's group slowly stopped in front of the entrance to the GU sacred city. The GU sacred city was not a city that one could randomly enter. Unless one obtained an invitation from the GU clan, an ordinary person was prohibited from entering it. Although the procedure to enter the city was extremely complicated, no one dared to behave atrociously due to the renowned reputation of the GU clan. Xiao Yang's group followed the rest of the people and slowly advanced. Some time later, they finally arrived at the entrance of the city. Xiao Yang swept his gaze around, only to see nearly 100 black-armored figures holding long spears and standing straight on both sides of the city's gate. Sharp eyes continued to roam around. Wave after wave of powerful auras radiated their bodies, causing one to involuntarily exclaim that the Jiyu clan was really grand. Xiao Yang's eyes shifted away from these black-armored human figures. Suddenly, they paused on a familiar figure at the city's entrance. His eyes immediately narrowed. Ling Quan. A figure was standing tall and straight at the entrance to the city. The pale green armor that he wore caused him to appear a little colder. His back swayed with the wind, causing him to appear to be in high spirits. This familiar figure was naturally that of the commander of the Black Submerged Army, Ling Quan, who had formed a grudge with Xiao Yang. It was unexpected that Xiao Yang would end up meeting Ling Quan the moment he arrived at Jiyu Sacred City. It was really the case of enemies frequently crossing paths. When Xiao Yang noticed Ling Quan's cold stern eyes found him. Ling Quan was immediately startled before his face swiftly became dark and solemn. Xiao Yang, who allowed you to head to this place? Ling Quan's ugly expression and cold cry caused quite a number of eyes to emit a swoosh sound as they shifted. Finally, they paused on Xiao Yang with some surprise. The matter of Xiao Yang having become the champion of the Pill Gathering had already spread across the Central Plains. The current Xiao Yang possessed a great reputation in the Central Plains. However, from the looks of his appearance now, it seemed that this Pill Gathering champion had some grudge with this young commander from the Jiyu clan. Xiao Yang's expression remained calm in the face of Ling Quan's cold cry. He flicked his finger and a jade invitation appeared from his storage ring. It carried a sharp wind as it explosively shot toward Ling Quan. Ling Quan's expression sank when he saw this invitation. He let out a cold snort as Do Qi lingered on his hand. He suddenly reached out and caught the jade invitation. When Ling Quan's hand touched the jade invitation, a frightening temperature suddenly materialized from it, burning his palm until a dense, white fog was emitted. The intense pain that caused Ling Quan's expression to become gloomy. However, it was fortunate that he was not an ordinary person. He clenched his teeth and forcefully endured it. His hand tapped the jade invitation and absorbed the information from within it. So you are actually from the Falling Star Pavilion. How can such a faction receive an invitation from my Jiyu clan? Ling Quan coldly laughed. His tone contained some disdain. The old Falling Star Pavilion did not possess the qualification to receive such an invitation. It is written on it. If you are illiterate, you can go and ask the members of your Jiyu clan, return the jade invitation. Xiao Yang faintly instructed. Xiao Yang's tone caused Ling Quan to furiously grit his teeth. His hand gripped the jade invitation tighter as he coldly said, "You can just come over and take it." Ling Quan's words had just sounded when he suddenly sensed his eyes become dazzled. The jade invitation in his hand immediately left it. By the time he recovered, the jade invitation had appeared in Xiao Yang's hand in front of him. This caused Ling Quan's face to turn red almost instantly. It was unexpected that he had only just uttered these words when Xiao Yang had snatched back the jade invitation. He had lost a great amount of face. Bastard. This Ling Quan appeared to have forgotten his current identity because of his anger from this embarrassment. He let out a furious cry. Sharp wind violently slammed toward Xiao Yang. Bang! The palm wind of Ling Quan danced. Before he could strike Xiao Yang, his eyes were dazzled once again. A leg smashed into his chest with lightning-like speed. The frightening force sent him flying backwards before he collided with the city wall. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out of Ling Quan's mouth after he fell from the city wall. His face was filled with disbelief and shock. When he had met Xiao Yang in the Yi clan back then, his strength was still 1 star higher than Xiao Yang's. Back then, he might not have been able to defeat Xiao Yang, but he was still able to exchange blows. Now, however, he was unable to even see Xiao Yang's attack before he was utterly defeated. The gap between the two had already pulled apart by a terrifying extent. This extreme change almost caused his arrogant self to vomit blood. How many years has it been? The brat that he had viewed like an ant at the inner academy back then was already standing on his head. Some surprise flashed across the eyes of the surrounding people when they saw Xiao Yang force a 1-star Do Zun back with a kick. They had not expected Xiao Yang to possess such attainments for Do Qi along with his great achievements in medicinal refinement. Commander Ling Quan, I'm sorry that my blow was a little heavy. However, please avoid doing such a stupid thing next time. After all, there aren't many who hold back like me. Xiao Yang flicked the jade invitation into his storage ring. After which, he glanced at the shocked face of Ling Quan and smiled as spoke. Black submerged section, capture him. Ling Quan furiously cried out. His eyes immediately reddened when he saw the smile on Xiao Yang's face. Swoosh. The 100 black-armored Jiyu clan warriors standing before the city's entrance did not hesitate when they heard this furious cry. The long spears in their hands immediately emitted swoosh sounds as they were aimed at Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang's expression slowly became gloomy when he saw this scene. The little fairy doctor and the rest beside Xiao Yang became gloomy when they saw the many black submerged army warriors pointing the long spears in their hands at Xiao Yang. Their bodies moved, and they appeared beside Xiao Yang. Their vast and mighty Do Chis quietly surged. The atmosphere at the city's gate had become a swords-drawn one as both parties faced each other. Some people's eyes were observing Xiao Yang's group with some interest. They were surprised that his group dared to attack a member of the Jiyu clan at the Jiyu sacred city. Ling Quan, as the commander of the Black Submerged Army, are you planning on abusing your authority for a private grudge? This jade invitation was issued by the Jiyu clan. Since we possess this jade invitation, we are guests of the Jiyu clan. With your status, you do not have the qualification to capture me, right? Xiao Yang's face sank as he coldly laughed. Ling Quan's was dull when he heard this. He was just about to let out a cold cry when a loud shout suddenly exploded from beyond the city wall. A figure rushed down in a lightning-like manner. It landed heavily in front of the city gate like a metal tower. Ling Quan, what are you doing? Ling Quan's expression changed when he saw that figure rushing down from the city wall. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "It's nothing." Nothing. That human figure frowned when he heard this. His eyes drifted toward Xiao Yang's group. Using this opportunity, Xiao Yang got a clear look of this person's face. Like Ling Quan, this person was wearing bright armor. However, his aura was clearly much stronger than Ling Quan's aura. Based on Xiao Yang's senses, he should be an expert 3-star Dozun. Greetings to 5th Commander. The surrounding Black Submerged Army warriors respectfully cried out when they saw this man. One of them swiftly summarized the events that had occurred earlier. You are that Xiao Yang? The man wearing the light green armor was startled when he heard the name Xiao Yang. He frowned and glanced at Xiao Yang again. His expression vaguely contained an extremely faint enmity. Falling Star Pavilion Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang's face was calm. He cupped his hands to this man, who was called 5th Commander, in front of him. That's right, he is that Xiao Yang who young Miss has mentioned. Ling Quan coldly laughed. His eyes tried to bore into Xiao Yang. That gaze of his was filled with envy and an unwillingness as he said, "Are you planning on allowing him in now?" Xiao Yang slowly knit his brows when he heard the conversation between the two. It seemed that quite a number of people in the Jiyu clan were aware of his name, probably because of Zun Er. The 5th Commander was quiet for a moment. His eyes were complicated as he glanced at Xiao Yang. After which, he turned his head and furiously chided Ling Quan. Do you have any brain? He possesses a jade invitation. That means he is a guest invited by our Jiyu clan. These actions of yours, are you planning to allow others to mock our Jiyu clan for not knowing etiquette? Ling Quan's face alternated between green and white after being furiously reprimanded by 5th Commander, but he was unable to say much due to the other party having a higher status than him. All he could do was let out a cold snort and withdraw. Mr. Xiao Yang, please enter. Please wait in the Jiyu sacred city for a couple of days. There will be someone who will bring all of you into the Jiyu realm when the time comes. After reprimanding Ling Quan, the 5th Commander cupped his hands to Xiao Yang as he spoke in a deep voice. Xiao Yang nodded. Although this 5th Commander had formed a hint of animosity for him, he was impartial. This was much better than Ling Quan. However, the thing that caused Xiao Yang to feel some doubt was that this was the first time he had met this person. Where did his enmity come from? Could it be still because of Zun Er? Xiao Yang bitterly laughed in his heart. As the saying went, a beauty brought trouble. Moreover, Zun Er's beauty could bring disaster to a country and its people. He had a premonition that this trip to the Jiyu clan would not be smooth. Xiao Yang led the little fairy doctor and the rest into the city. While he was walking by the 5th Commander, the 5th Commander hesitated for a moment before cupping his hands together to say, if this is not too abrupt, may I find time to spar with Mr. Xiao Yang? I really wish to see, if you are really compatible with young Miss. The last sentence was as weak as a housefly. However, it clearly formed in Xiao Yang's ears. Upon hearing this sentence, Xiao Yang sighed, as expected. Xiao Yang slowly nodded and did not open his mouth to make an excuse to reject it. He was clearly aware of Zun Er's status within the Jiyu clan. With her demeanor and talent along with her extremely great beauty, it was likely that most of the young and handsome men within this Jiyu realm possessed some feelings for her. They would naturally treat Xiao Yang as a love rival who posed the greatest threat. Xiao Yang clearly understood that this kind of sparring would increase in the future. Moreover, these matches would progress beyond sparring. Xiao Yang's heart felt miserable because of his future fate. He waved his hand and led the little fairy doctors group into this ancient city in front of many gazes. A dark chill flashed across Ling Quan's eyes as he watched Xiao Yang's back disappear. He softly muttered, Xiao Yang, it was fine if you hide outside. Now that you have come to the Jiyu clan and invited in humiliation, you can only blame yourself for being blind. With this little strength of yours, you do not possess the qualifications to act fiercely among the younger generation of my Jiyu clan. Xiao Yang was naturally unable to hear Ling Quan's dark voice. His group passed through the city wall and entered the city, which permeated with an ancient aura. The current Jiyu sacred city was lively. Human traffic frequently filled the streets. Although there wasn't as much human traffic compared to other cities, most of people who could walk within this city possessed a great strength. We should head to the area within the city that is set up for people to rest. I have already made inquiries. The door that heads to the GU realm will be opened in 3 days. All of us have to remain in this GU sacred city during these 3 days. The little fairy doctor smiled as she explained the situation to the group after she had obtained some information. Xiao Yang tilted his head in acknowledgement. His eyes swept around him as he softly made a comment. This GU sacred city is filled with all sorts of people, and they are all strong individuals. We should be careful during these few days. Xiao Yang took the lead. He started to slowly walk to the middle of the city after uttering those words. The little fairy doctor and the rest swiftly followed behind. The group shuttled through the city for over 10 minutes before arriving at the middle. A spacious manor with towering buildings stood here. There was a continuous flow of people entering and leaving the entrance of the manor. The numerous powerful auras that spread caused Xiao Yang's group to exchange sidelong glances with each other. By relying on the GU clan's jade invitation, Xiao Yang's group successfully entered the manor. After which, they followed a pretty female servant to a quiet house. Due to them having traveled non-stop during this period of time, most of them felt a little tired after entering the quiet house. They chatted briefly before finding their own rooms to rest. A lady in pale green clothes was seated within a dense cloud that lingered over a mountain. The fog churned, causing her to appear just like a fairy with her ethereal demeanor. Young Master Xiao Yang has reached GU Sacred City. An elderly figure flashed and appeared on the mountain top while the quiet lady's eyes were shut. He respectfully informed the young lady after appearing. The elder's words had just sounded when he sensed the space in front of him rippling. When he raised his head, he discovered that the lady had already appeared in front of him. That pretty face, which contained a smile, caused the pretty scene around to instantly become much dimmer. Who else could this face belong to other than Zun'er? Oldling, is he well? The young lady's gentle voice appeared to possess a special demonic force. Even the clouds of this place rippled because of it. The current young master Xiao Yang is no longer someone that the old me can see through. Based on the information that I have received, Ling Quan, whose strength is at the 1-star Do Zun class, was unable to even last one exchange in Xiao Yang's hands. Young master Xiao Yang is at least a 4-star Do Zun, the old man sighed. His tone contained an exclamation that he could not hide. When he had been protecting Xiao Yang back then, he had merely been a small doja. However, within a short 10 years or so, that tender youth from back then had reached a stage where even the old man couldn't tell his strength. Young Mrs. Eyesight is indeed good. Zun'er smiled when she heard Ling Ying's exclamation. She had been undertaking a deep retreat during these years. The matters of the outside world had seldom entered her ears. Even though this was the case, she understood that the current Xiao Yang was definitely well known in the Central Plains because she had believed in his strength from the beginning. Even when he was down and out, she still believed in him. However, young miss, the matter that you announced in the clan some time ago will likely cause young master Xiao Yang some trouble. Ling Ying hesitated for a moment before speaking. I believe in him. Zun'er smiled but did not give an additional explanation. The matters of the heart were extremely mysterious. Time was unable to cause them to disappear. Instead, time had brewed this feeling until it was mellow and fragrant. Even though the status and strength of the two had undergone a great change, their lives from the small Wutan city still existed in their hearts. Those tender feelings had finally matured. Ling Ying could only bitterly laugh when he heard her silence. Some time ago, this blessed child within the GU clan had used a calm tone to utter some words that caused all the elders' faces to twitch during an elder meeting. The elders on the elder meeting had been discussing the matter of her marriage after she had left her retreat. These words were the reason why Xiao Yang faced the enmity from the young geniuses of the GU clan the moment he arrived in GU Sacred City. Regardless of whether all of you oppose or support me, I only like him, and none of you will be able to change that fact. Just this one sentence alone caused the faces of most of the elders in the GU clan to turn green. When warm sunlight glinted through the window the next morning, Xiao Yang, who had been training, slowly opened his eyes. The space around Xiao Yang formed a mysterious fluctuation the moment he opened his eyes. Wave after wave of different colored Do Chi quietly poured into Xiao Yang's brows. Finally, they merged with his soul. With this great single soul skill, my spiritual training is progressing quite fast. An expression of being full of praise surfaced on Xiao Yang's face when he sensed the full feeling that was being transmitted from the spot between his brows. He had worked hard to practice the great single soul skill the moment he had any free time. The gains he had obtained were quite great. His spiritual aura, which had been extremely difficult to increase, was automatically improved by nature when he circulated the great single soul skill. This strange method was indeed worthy of being an item from ancient times. Xiao Yang smiled and stood up from his bed. He stretched his body before pushing the door to his room open. He exited the room. After finding Little Fairy Doctor and the others, the entire group left the house. This large manor had already filled with experts from all over. These experts either possessed a great strength or had a powerful faction supporting them. It was naturally lively when these people gathered together. Xiao Yang's group idly roamed around before stopping at a wine shop that occupied a vast part of the manor. There was a big stone platform in the middle of this large wine shop. Do Qi erupted from the stone platform as two figures exchanged blows with lightning-like speed. The interesting fight caused many observers to repeatedly cry out good. The two people on the platform were about 6-star Do Zongs. They were experts with some reputation in the outside world. However, they didn't attract Xiao Yang. His group found a table in the wine shop that was close to the window before sitting down. Their eyes swept over the wine stop and discovered quite a number of people with great strength. Have you inquired about some information related to that black submerged army? After a female servant served tea, Xiao Yang glanced at the fight on the stage before softly asking. He was about to make contact with this Jiyu clan. Naturally, he needed to gain a greater understanding of them. This so-called black submerged army was rumored to be where the strongest warriors of the Jiyu clan gathered, and it possessed an extremely powerful fighting strength. Xiao Yang needed to obtain some news with regards to them. Aye. The little fairy doctor grinned and nodded. She exchanged looks with Tianhua Zunjia before softly replying, the status of the black submerged army is quite high within the Jiyu clan because a harsh selection requirement is imposed. Not only must they be absolutely loyal to the Jiyu clan, they must also reach a certain level by a certain age. It is rumored that the black submerged army is tested every year. Those who fail to meet the test requirements are expelled. Hence, the quality of the black submerged army is quite high. Xiao Yang nodded slowly when he heard this. From the looks of those black armored guards at the city's gate, he was aware that the warriors of this black submerged army were not mediocre individuals. All of them would be talented warriors that would be extremely hard to find in the outside world. The black submerged army has an extremely strict division of ranks. There are 8 great commanders. That Ling Quan and the 5th commander are among these people. However, that Ling Quan is ranked 7th. Tianhua Zunjia by the side smiled as he revealed some information. Ling Quan is merely ranked 7th. Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes. Ling Quan had the strength of a 1-star Do Zun while that 5th commander possessed the strength of a 3-star Do Zun. Then, would the 1st commander of the black submerged army possess a strength of 6 stars or higher? It is indeed worthy of being the Jiyu clan. Xiao Yang gently nodded. Those among the younger generation who could reach the strength of a 6-star Do Zun were definitely great geniuses. Although the members of the Jiyu clan possessed the Do Di bloodline, these commanders still showed off the clan's great strength. The current Yu is not very likable in the eyes of these young geniuses from the Jiyu clan. Quite a number of them even view you as a love rival. I think that you will find your time in the Jiyu clan to be quite frustrating. The little fairy doctor covered her mouth and softly laughed. There should not be many members of the Jiyu clan who are aware of the relationship between Zuna and I, right? Xiao Yang frowned and asked. There weren't many some time ago. However, according to the information that I have gathered, this matter is known by everyone because Zuna has personally admitted the relationship between the two of you during an elders' meeting. The little fairy doctor laughed. Xiao Yang was stunned. He bitterly laughed. This girl. She is really quite bold. However, if that is what she has said, then so be it. This matter would ultimately be exposed. As for the geniuses of the Jiyu clan, they can do as they like. I have been aware from the very beginning that I would not find much peace within this Jiyu realm. Xiao Yang was already familiar with Zuna's great beauty and allure. This Jiyu clan also possessed many geniuses. Being talented, these young people would definitely not be fond of an ordinary lady. Hence, Zun who not only possessed an extremely beautiful appearance but also an exceeding talent, would naturally be the target of their pursuit. Among the 8 great commanders, more than half of them view you as a love rival who pose the greatest threat. If you meet them, they will definitely find an excuse to spar with you. The little fairy doctor laughed. Of course, I think that the ones who pose the greatest threat aren't these people. Instead, it will be the 4 great generals. 4 great generals? The true upper echelon of the black submerged army can be summarized as the 8 great commanders, the 4 great generals, and the 2 leaders of the black submerged army, the black submerged dukes, the little fairy doctor explained. These 4 great generals are ultimate geniuses even within the Jiyu clan filled with many talents. All of them are brilliant individuals. Based on their potentials, they will become the true core members of the Jiyu clan in the future. Xiao Yang was quiet. A solemnness surged into his heart. What he had obtained at this age of his was at the top within the Central Plains. However, now that he had arrived at this Jiyu clan, which was filled with talent, he finally understood that such an achievement was not enough to be proud of. Since the rank of these generals was higher than the commanders, it was likely that even the weakest general would be stronger than the first commander. If one thought about it, The strength of these four great generals would be similar to the 9th Tianzuan of the Hall of Souls. Is the Dou Di bloodline really so powerful? Xiao Yang slowly exhaled a breath of air. He truly sensed some pressure. His training speed was already elusive in the eyes of those from the same generation, but it still appeared a little weak when compared with the ultimate geniuses from the Jiyu clan. There is always someone better. This phrase is indeed true. Although I am not aware of the four highly respected generals' attitudes toward you, Zun is a blessed child of the Jiyu clan. The attraction she poses to geniuses like them is incomparable. Therefore, you should pay more attention. The little fairy doctor reminded Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes. A ruthless expression flashed through them. Forget about just how strong these so-called generals were. No one could stop the relation between him and Zun. Although he only possessed the strength of a 5-star Dozun, he was unafraid of even a 7 or 8-star elite Dozun if they were to really fight. Hence, he hoped that these four great commanders did not think of him as some soft persimmon. Those who possess the Dou Di bloodline indeed have a smooth training path. However, this speed halts just before the Doshun class. Even though an ancient clan like the Jiyu clan possesses many elite Dozuns, there aren't many people who can step into the Doshun class. If one wishes to advance to that level, one can only rely on oneself. At such a moment, the Dou Di bloodline becomes a burden. Therefore, you need not compete with these fellows in terms of your current achievements. When you reach the Doshun class in the future, these people might only remain in the Dozun class. Tianhua Zunja stretched his lazy waist and laughed. Xiao Yang nodded. An elite Doshun was a peak existence in this world. Although the Dou Di bloodline was powerful, it was impossible to create a large number of such experts. Otherwise, it would be opposing the laws of the world. While Xiao Yang's group drank and chatted among themselves, two ice-cold gazes from the upper level of this wine shop had locked onto Xiao Yang. He is that Xiao Yang? A young, handsome green-robed man glanced at Xiao Yang's back. His unusually long hand was gently knocking on the rail as he asked in a faint voice. Third brother, he is that Xiao Yang who young miss mentioned. He possesses a great reputation within the Central Plains. His arrogance has not diminished a little even now that he has come to our Jiyu clan, a cold laugh replied. By following the sound and looking over, that person was Ling Quan, who had been kicked by Xiao Yang yesterday. This is not the Central Plains, the green-clothed man smiled. His smile contained a faint chill as he said, although we might not catch the eyes of young miss, someone of such a level should also not have that qualification. You better not do anything reckless. They are guests. A strongly built man frowned as he spoke. He was the 5th commander from yesterday. Relax, everything will happen according to the rules. The green man laughed in a dark yet gentle manner. Clang. After his voice sounded, a victor was decided among the two figures fighting on the stone stage below. The both of them withdrew. Immediately, a loud clear voice attracted everyone's gazes. A skinny man leaped up and cried out loud. The ones who will fight next will be the 3rd commander of the Black Submerged Army, Yang Hao, and the champion of the pill gathering, Xiao Yang. A short distance away, Xiao Yang's hand, which had just lifted a teacup, suddenly shook. Immediately, his face slowly turned gloomy. He seemed to have fallen into someone's trap. The loud cry reverberated within the building, causing the noisy atmosphere to immediately quiet down. These two people were quite well known. One was the 3rd commander of the Jiyu clan's Black Submerged Army while the other was the pill gathering champion. The both of them were outstanding people within the younger generation. Could the observers be lucky enough to watch them spar here today? Excitement surged in quite a number of people's eyes when they thought of this. Their gazes swept around them in an attempt to find the two of them. What happened? The little fairy doctors group was also startled because of this sudden unexpected change. They saw Xiao Yang's gloomy expression and immediately understood something. They frowned and said, "It is unexpected that trouble has come knocking on the door after having just talked about it. This is really a little too underhanded." With their intelligence, they naturally understood that the other party was afraid of Xiao Yang backing away, explaining why he had publicly acted before seeking permission. If Xiao Yang were to lose this match, it was likely that it would become an excuse for the Jiyu clan to strike against Xiao Yang. Even Zun would be implicated by this. Xiao Yang's expression was gloomy. He slowly exhaled a breath of air and gradually placed his teacup down. He softly said, "It's just as well. I do not like this kind of continuous trouble. It will not be bad if I kill a chicken to warn those monkeys before entering the Jiyu clan. Since he willingly wishes to become this chicken, I shall accept his offer." Xiao Yang suddenly turned his head after uttering these words. His icy gaze shot to the green-clothed man on the upper floor. "Ha ha, his senses are quite sharp." That green-clothed man laughed when he saw Xiao Yang looking over. His expression did not reveal the slightest fear. His strength was at the peak of the 5-star Dozun class. Although Xiao Yang was also a 5-star Dozun, this green-clothed young man had seldom been defeated when fighting an opponent of the same level. "Yang Hao, you should not act recklessly. If the elders become aware of this, the fifth commander by the side frowned as he spoke. We are only sparing. Our Jiyu clan has always been more inclined to fight. Isn't it good to find friends through sparing? Yang Hao laughed faintly and continued, relax, I will not allow him to lose in an ugly way, of course this is only if he is tactful. After his words softly sounded, Yang Hao's body flashed, and he appeared on the stone stage before the fifth commander could say anything more. He smiled as he looked in the direction of Xiao Yang. He laughed and said, Mr. Xiao Yang, I have long heard of your great name. May I know if I can seek some lessons from you today? All the gazes in the building suddenly turned at this moment. They gathered on the skinny figure beside a window. He is that Xiao Yang? The pill-gathering champion? He looks quite young. It is unexpected that he has reached the level of a Tier 8 alchemist at such an age. It is really difficult to believe. It is rumored that his teacher is Yarrow Chen, Yarrow Zunja from back then. However, the current Yarrow Chen has already advanced to a Bansheng. His strength is so great that it is frightening. No wonder. Yarrow Chen has sharp eyes. This current disciple is many times stronger than Han Feng from back then. Xiao Yang's expression was calm as he heard the private conversations around him. He turned his head and threw his eyes at the young green-clothed man on the stage with a dark smile on his face. He slowly stood up and said, since third commander insists on this, I shall not reject your offer. Yang Hao's brows were lifted slightly when he saw that Xiao Yang did not find an excuse to reject him. However, the smile on his face became denser. He did an after-you gesture. However, no one saw the dense chill flashing through his eyes when he bowed to Xiao Yang. Be careful. The little fairy doctors group did not stop him. They were confident in Xiao Yang's strength. That Yang Hao's strength might be at the peak of a 5-star Dozun, but this kind of strength did not pose any fatal threat to the current Xiao Yang. Aye. Xiao Yang nodded. He strode forward and the space in front of him became distorted. The next moment, he appeared a short distance away from Yang Hao. You are indeed worthy of being the champion of a pill gathering. This courage is really admirable. Yang Hao grinned as he looked at Xiao Yang and complimented him. Xiao Yang was calm as he glanced at the superficial smile on Yang Hao's face. His voice tranquil, to the extent of lacking emotion, after you. All right. Yang Hao loudly laughed. He suddenly took a step forward. A vast and mighty Do Qi immediately surged in all directions. The powerful Do Qi pressure caused the expressions of quite a number of people within the building to change. Today, this commander shall personally test and see just how outstanding this pill-gathering champion is. Yang Hao loudly laughed as his Do Qi surged. His long hand was suddenly clenched, and a sharp wind was formed within his palm. His foot stomped on the ground, and his body appeared in front of Xiao Yang with lightning-like speed. A sharp claw wind violently rushed toward Xiao Yang like a dragnet. The sharp force tore through space, forming numerous dark black scars. Xiao Yang stepped back when faced with Yang Hao's ferocious attack. He began to use a mysterious footwork within a 3-step radius and dodged Yang Hao's dense claw wind. What a fast speed! However, come and try my dragon snake footwork. Yang Hao was startled when he saw Xiao Yang completely dodge his attack. He immediately let out a cold cry. He took a step forward. With the step of a dragon and tiger, his body became ghost-like and a dragon snake illusory figure vaguely appeared behind him. The Jiyu clan did not lack high-class Do skills. Moreover, being the third commander, the Do skills that Yang Hao had learned were definitely not ordinary. This dragon snake footwork alone was not inferior to Xiao Yang's 3000 lightning movement. Sky Evil Chi Shattering Claw. Yang Hao's speed suddenly increased after using this dragon snake footwork. His claw wind suddenly changed as a fierce evil aura quickly gathered on his palm. The space where his palm passed cracked apart, and a deafening buzzing sound spread in a sharp manner. The Jiyu clan is indeed a large clan. These high-class Do skills that are difficult to see in the outside world are being used as he pleases. Xiao Yang's eyes narrowed when he sensed that Yang Hao's speed and attack had suddenly become sharper. By possessing so many high-class Do skills to protect himself with, it was little wonder that this fellow was not worried about defeating Xiao Yang, who was also a 5-star Dozun. However, he had miscalculated. In front of Xiao Yang, who possessed an unusually powerful spiritual strength, any ghost-like agility techniques could not escape his eyes. Xiao Yang waved his sleeve and would accurately strike Yang Hao's claw wind just when it was about to reach its target. This moment was coincidentally the moment when the claw wind was going from weak to strong. However, one would be unable to take advantage of such an opening without a perfect observation ability. Bang bang! Yang Hao's expression gained a solemnness each time they exchanged blows. After over a dozen sharp exchanges, his expression had been replaced by a grave one. Although he had used 2 types of DI-class middle-level Do skills, he was unable to harm Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang's movements of leisure caused him to feel that he was losing face. I do not believe that a poor brat like you can compete with this commander in terms of the amount and quality of skills that you possess. Yang Hao's expression was dark and cold. His feet suddenly pulled back. At the same time, his hands started to form numerous seals that Xiao Yang was unusually familiar with. God seal skill, huh? Xiao Yang narrowed his eyes when he saw the seals. His body flashed and strangely appeared in front of Yang Hao. He flicked his finger and a gentle breeze shot out, striking Yang Hao's wrist with lightning-like speed. This breeze might not be strong, but it interrupted the completion of the God seal skill, causing the blood within Yang Hao's body to churn. This brat. Why is he aware of the flaws of the God seal skill? Yang Hao's expression changed when Xiao Yang randomly broke the seal that he had been forming. Before he could think, a hot wind blew over, and he had to hurriedly receive it. Bang! The hot wind spread across the stone stage. Everyone was stunned to see Yang Hao stagger a couple of steps back because of Xiao Yang's punch. Yang Hao was in a situation where Xiao Yang had completely overwhelmed him. The originally dark and cold face of Ling Quan on the upper floor had become a little ugly. He vaguely began to feel an unease growing. Yang Hao is no match for him. The fifth commander also displayed a serious expression. Xiao Yang appeared unruffled even in the face of Yang Hao's skills, causing him to involuntarily feel a little slump in his heart. This fellow was indeed not a mediocre person by being able to catch the eye of young Miss. Bastard. Yang Hao's face became flushed red after being forced back by Xiao Yang's palm. Clearly, he did not understand why he was unable to defeat Xiao Yang with his strength at the peak of the 5-star Dozun class. Moreover, he had even used many powerful Do skills. On the other hand, Xiao Yang had yet to use one Do skill even until now. Overturning land seal. A ferociousness vaguely surfaced on Yang Hao's face. He unleashed his dragon snake footwork to its limit. A dragon snake illusory figure appeared on the stone stage while the seal on his hand was swiftly formed. A vast and mighty Do Chi quickly gathered. Xiao Yang stood on the stage with his hands behind him. His eyes were calm as he watched the blurry figure that was swiftly shuffling around before slowly shutting his eyes. Successful formation. The ferocious on Yang Hao's face became even more intense when he saw what Xiao Yang was doing. His hand seals suddenly paused. A cold expression surfaced from within his eyes. However, a chill covered his heart when the seal in his hand was about to launch toward Xiao Yang. The moment the chill appeared, the stone stage under his feet suddenly cracked apart. A hot magma pillar bared its claws and rushed out like a fire dragon. It smashed into Yang Hao's legs. The attack that was unleashed from underground had exceeded everyone's expectations. Being the main actor, Yang Hao spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, and his body was struck by the fire pillar until he flew. Finally, he smashed into a large stone pillar of the building. The stone pillar was immediately blasted apart. The entire place was completely silent as everyone watched this battle end in an instant. Numerous stunned eyes looked at the skinny young man with his hands behind him. His body had not even shifted. A moment later, a thunder-like applause resonated through the entire building in a deafening manner. Xiao Yang's expression remained tranquil. He studied the charred black Yang Hao before cupping his hands together. He smiled and said, "Thank you for going easy, third commander." Yang Hao, who had just landed on the ground, involuntarily spat out another mouthful of fresh blood. He had never expected to be miserably defeated by Xiao Yang's hands with his peak of a 5-star Dozun strength. This video will end here.